Trade shows, trade shows are one of those necessities that you have to do it. Um, it depends on what you get out of it. I mean, a lot of our guys are pretty um, forward. So, and a lot of our, since we don't sell anything direct, DCI is not a, we don't sell direct. We basically try to show our new products, and then we let the dealers go out there and demo it. We help them do that. But this show is so much different. I mean, trade shows, you've got your booth, you're waiting for the customers to come to you. Here, you're networking, you're talking to contractors, you're talking to different utilities, and it's more of a, it's not really a threat basis. You're not trying to sell them something, but you're trying to educate each other on why you're involved in this industry, and I think that's a big plus for coming to this thing. That's why I came back this year. I actually had a meeting out in California this week, and I canceled that, and one of our other guys is doing it. But I think this meeting is very worthwhile. I think the setup with the interviews and things like that are really good. I think the industry is growing from it. The knowledge is the hardest thing. I mean, DCI is really, we really pride ourselves on doing educational meetings with contractors and utilities and our dealers. So we're doing training typically every week. Last week I had a training class that was 2 days long for a gas company in Des Moines, Iowa, and that was a 2-day class. And it wasn't just on DCI; it was on mud. It was on tooling. It was a lot on different items, and so we all had our little times to talk. And that is the educational thing. Getting out with the guys that are actually in the field is important.
Yeah.
Because everybody's been trained by somebody different, and that's
Sure.
that's the part where I think it's it gets lost, because if I train you and then you train somebody else, there could be a couple things that have been lost along that path.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
The training is something we really pride ourselves on.
That's great. Yeah, and we'll maybe have to talk more about that next time, or do an article for the magazine or something. But yeah, that's great, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you much.
That was painless, right?
Painless.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah. Right.
Well, it is very different, and I think the most important thing out of this is to share, collaborate with people that are like-minded. And I said this before to someone. I felt like a few years back when I first came, we had a different message, and there's a lot of brick walls to that message. It's like, that ain't going to work here, and it's like, okay, well, it seems common sense, so why can't it work here? And now what I'm hearing, and even the last few days, just to hear some voices saying, I think you've got something there. There's something there. I don't know if we need to take the whole system. Is it a hybrid? Is it what? But there's something there. We've got to look at something different. So it's really comfortable, I guess, for me to sit now and have people sort of wrapped around you that will push you, both ways. I mean, they'll push you with the, hey, I'm right behind you, this is great. And the other way is, well, no, they ain't going to work here for this reason, this reason. I like to hear those. The challenges are to hear that and sort of understand what both sides of the parties are saying. What we bring to the group, I guess, is we've seen it work elsewhere where, many people can say, well, we theorized we could do this. We don't know how it would work. Well, we've definitely seen it work elsewhere.
Sure.
So we bring that to the party a little bit. And I think that's nice, that we can add a little bit of flavor to this discussion, this debate. Because there's some frustration out there, even in the industry here. I can feel it.
Oh, absolutely.
Different people. So the roundtable's been great. Good networking opportunity. I guess, I said to someone today, are there people in this room that can make a difference, can actually fully change what happens in this place? And the answer was, I'm not sure. I said, well, why haven't we got those people? Let's find those people and let's get them into this as well, because you sit them down here for a day or two, we will change their minds. If they've already got a brick wall, we will change their minds, because there's too many antidotes, there's too much knowledge here. There's very intelligent people here that from all aspects, and that's what the debate's about. You've got to have the contractor's point of view, the locator's point of view, utilities, municipalities. Everybody's point of view needs to be understood, and then we sit back and understand, well, what are the blockers here, and how do we unblock them? So this has been great. I took 2 days out to spend here, and I'm quite happy to have done that.
That's great, and we're happy to have you here. It's been a great event, and talking to you guys this week has just been incredible. One of my favorite things, someone said, I asked him what their favorite thing about the roundtable was. He's like, well, I came here and I'm finding out what the problems are. Right. Because sometimes you don't even know what might not be wrong. You're just kind of cruising along, and you know, and then all of a sudden you're talking to people and you're like, wow, I had no idea that that was an issue or that was an issue. He's a veteran. He'd been here last year,
Right.
and he's like, I come here to find out what the problems are. And I thought that was great. And just FYI, I interviewed someone this morning, and he's like, I love it. I met this one call guy from Australia. He had all these great ideas. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's good to hear.
yeah. So you've already made an impact.
Impact
on
on
at least
someone.
here. Yeah,
Yeah.
walking around.
Well, many people have made impacts on me as well, and I think it's
Yeah.
interesting that, it's good actually. It's great to hear.
Yeah.
We are making an impact somehow.
Yeah, we want you guys to talk to each other.
Yeah.
You know, I know you got your round table and you know you got your event scheduled, but in between, you know,
exactly right.
listen to each other, talk to each other. You know,
That's the opportunity, and that's what this
Yeah.
brings. And you know, to talk about that compared to like CGA or exhibit spaces, yeah, you're in a different role there, you know. And although we don't use those sort of things to sell, you're networking, and this is the networking type of function. You know, this is great. I mean, yes, you get to hear different people talk, but what that does is says, I want to talk to that person. I've heard those people speak, and I want to talk to that person. This is great. So, and this is more rapid than going to a CGA where you spend, you know, an hour in front of a presenter. You've got a very short period of time. You connect with someone who you feel is, you know, mentally stimulating, has a really good understanding of what they're talking about, whether it be opposed to you or not, a challenge to change their mind or not. And that's the interesting thing.
Yeah. This is a pure networking.
Yeah.
You know,
It is.
It's, without all the fluff and the sales pitches, you know. And, well, hey, if you drum up some business because of it,
It's just
that's
a
even
bonus.
better.
That's
You
a
know,
bonus.
That's
That's a
the
bonus.
icing on the cake.
it
Yeah,
is,
right.
Yeah.
But if not, Ray,
All
that
right.
was fantastic.
Great.
Thank you so much.
All right, pleasure.
Are you on?
No, I think at the round table, it's a great opportunity to get to candidly talk to people about what's going on. We get to have these panel sessions and the round table sessions where we get to have conversations about what's important to us, and it's not really filtered. We're not out there trying to sell things. We're not out there trying to get business from people. We're out there really talking about our products and talking about our problems that we run into on a regular basis and how those two interact with each other. So we're talking utility contractors. They're talking about the problems that they run into in installing product in the ground. We talk about how from a Vermeer standpoint, how we could maybe make that better and how we can collaborate on that. So this type of a setting, I think, is very valuable because we don't necessarily get this setting on a regular basis. Most of the time we're really focusing on something specific, whereas at this event where we're still focusing on some specific topics, we really get to dive into those topics and get more information and go through the whole process.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to someone. I was in an interview earlier today, and someone said, "I like this. I like coming here because I didn't know what the problem was."
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
It's like sometimes you think you're on cruise control. You're like, "Yeah, I'm doing okay." Then you find out, oh, there is a problem, or there's a problem with this aspect of the industry or something. He's like, coming here has helped me learn what the problems are.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. Yeah, and we don't want to put you guys under pressure or anything. We're not trying to get anyone in trouble. We're just trying to help improve the industry a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
certainly, and I think we need it.
Yeah, absolutely. Corey, thanks for your time.
Yeah,
man. That was
no problem.
fantastic. Yeah, that was really good. I have no idea when we're going to be getting through all this footage.
Yeah.
And,
No,
it's going to
that's
take
all
a
right.
couple months probably. but,
Well, the difference is in the informal nature. You come in, there's a structure to it, but it's not overbearing. It's not like if you don't show up this time, you miss something. The networking capability in between the different panels, interviews, discussions is significant. I think folks are not in trade show mode where people aren't trying to sell you something or push a product. It's more, we're kind of sharing what we do, how we do it. Your interest level is really consistent with what you want to see out there and what you want to talk about. So it's a lot more relaxed environment, and I think it's very productive. Again, you have a number of people here with a lot of expertise and experience in the industry that really help to promote best things they're doing or sharing some of the things they're doing, and that's really where you start to learn and not make the same mistakes over again.
Yeah, let's hope so. Well, Eric, that was great. That was a great way to start off my morning. So thank you very much. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So you got what, one or two more roundtables? So what?
I think I'm free for the day.
Oh, are you? All right. Well, hey man, relax.
Mike mentioned he had a couple openings. If he slots me in, fine.
He might, yeah. Yeah. So just sort of.
As you said, this is my first time here, and my prior knowledge of what you all did was fairly limited until I got physically involved. And in the process, Mike sent some videos of different roundtables and the people who participate and a list of the attendees. I was immensely impressed that this happens to be a forum where people not just gather, but gather to talk and discuss. We have industry events, and they're all very good, and they have tracks and like excavation, damage prevention symposium that happens every year, and there are other industry events through the construction industry. But I noticed that here you have people that actually sit down and spend quality time talking through the issues, about the issues, and trying to come together to solve problems. And I really like that.
Good. We do too. Thanks for coming.
Sure, sure.
That was great, Jamal. Thank you. Yeah. Say no problem. All right.
All right.
I think there was more exchange of ideas here than a traditional trade show. Traditional trade show, frankly, there's more selling, and there's nothing wrong with that. People have to sell, people have to feed their kids.
Yeah.
Understood, but there's more exchange of ideas here. One improvement I would suggest is I think it'd be even better if some of these roundtables and panels were more confrontational.
More confrontation.
More confrontational.
Okay. Nice.
I don't see a lot of. I've been yesterday and today. I've been to every roundtable and every panel that I can be at. Sometimes the roundtables overlap.
Sure.
So I'm trying to be so efficient that as soon as the roundtable ends, I go to the other one. I don't wait for you guys to set up. I don't wait for you guys to set up. Not because you take a long time. I'm just trying to be efficient.
No, yeah.
But I don't see a lot of. I see a lot of. Yeah, I agree with your point. That's a great question. To your point, it's like, where's the disagreement, right?
Yeah.
If we're all here and everyone agrees with everyone, why isn't this getting done, right?
That's a great question.
And how is it? And honestly, what's the point in having a roundtable where everyone agrees with each other,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's, you're kind of, you can't sharpen a knife without, some contact, right? With some
Sure.
friction.
Yeah.
So I think it would be even better. And
Do you think there should be some with maybe people from the same industry but from like different companies? Maybe that, because right now we're trying to put together the three pieces of the puzzle, and so maybe they do agree too much because they're all sort of trying for the same goal. And,
I think what might help is have a roundtable, but have someone knowledgeable about the industry and the topic, following up with questions. So kind of like
a devil's advocate
yes,
sort of thing?
yes.
Yeah.
So kind of like a political show where you have debaters, and that's fine. But
like when you see like the four people. Like,
yeah, and then there's someone asking questions and follow-up questions, right? If someone says something that's controversial, follow up. Hey, Bill, do you agree with that? Why or why not?
Yeah.
Right. So I think there's two, and I think it may be symptomatic of the industry in general, where people are very conservative. They don't want to ruffle any feathers, and they're non-confrontational, right?
Yeah.
So then you almost can't get things done, right?
Yeah, if you're too complacent.
You're too
it's
complacent.
the same thing.
You're not.
Yeah.
Someone says something, you're afraid to call BS on it, right?
Yeah.
Or you don't want to call BS on it because it's not the way we do things around here, right?
Yeah.
So if you go to, there were presentations by about like how Jeff Bezos runs Amazon, and this guy named Ray Dalio runs his hedge fund, one of the largest in the world. Extremely confrontational companies, extremely, and a lot of debates, arguments, and really just kind of get to what the truth is, or what the answer might be, right? So I think these roundtables, I commend Mike and his team on putting these up, but I think there needs to be more friction, more confrontation, more questioning, more doubts, more like, hey, if you said this is a great idea, why the hell isn't your company doing it?
Sure.
Right?
That's great advice, Jimmy. I appreciate it. You're the first person to say something like that. It's refreshing. So we'll definitely take that under consideration. That you brought up some good points. This year the one twist we did is the 4-person roundtable, trying to add one extra person and do the visually present it a different way with multiple cameras. I think next year, though, we may do experiments more in format.
Right.
That's a great point.
Right.
Have more of an act. We have a moderator. Mike will kick it off with a question.
Yeah.
If he has a chance. He's running around like crazy, but but yeah, you're right. Maybe having a more active moderator.
Yes. More active moderator, interviewer, because I hear a lot of answers, a lot of non-controversial points, like we need more communications.
Yeah.
Sure. That's like someone saying this is a nice dog. I have nothing else to say about this dog or about this person. It's just nice.
It's
right?
obvious.
It's
Yes,
more communication. Thank you. We need to study.
Exactly.
We need more practice. Thank you.
I try to sometimes if I'm interviewing someone and I feel it's going a little dull, I'll try to press them a little bit more for detail.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just get the company line, and that's fine. They're not going to go beyond the company line, and that's fine.
They're not, but they're not going to go beyond the company line, and there's no one prodding them, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no one following up with the tough questions, and I think that's where the real improvement is made. The real improvements are not made in the industry when everyone, and again, I commend you guys for doing this. I'm here. The real improvements are not made in the industry when everyone gets around the round table and say, I agree with you, I agree with you, I agree with you, we all agree. Let's sing Kumbaya, right?
Let's do nothing until next year.
Right. Let's all keep agreeing until next year, and then we'll come back here and keep agreeing again.
No, I agree. But well said. I also just wanted to say, when you said you had a Wayne Gretzky metaphor, I thought for sure you were going to say that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah, that's another good one.
Which is another one, but you gave the go to where the puck is. I like that.
Go to where the puck is going.
Go where the puck is going.
Not where it is. Right.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's good hockey knowledge and good life knowledge. Yeah, so well said. All right, Jimmy, thanks a lot. I got to get my next guy here. That was great.
I do feel it's a worthwhile thing. And I do believe that I would attend again next year. Again, it's my first year here. I've got a little background from Mike. I've got a little background from Doug Reeves of what happens here. I do believe it's worthwhile. Because it's not just Q3 that struggles with problems like this. It's everybody that struggles with problems like this. And if you can bring it out into the open and enough people get involved, then things may get changed.
Are you looking forward to talking to people in the other, like the utility or the locating industry, other people to kind of maybe see what's going on with them?
Absolutely.
Yeah, great.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. All right, John. Well, that's all I got, man.
Okay.
That was fantastic. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. All good.
This is an incredibly innovative event. It allows the opportunity for you to talk to people from the industry. I learned already in the last couple hours a bunch of new technologies that have come out for the boring industry. I used a directional bore before I started with the company I work with now, and back in those time frames, there was no pitch on the boring machine. There was a lot of things that didn't exist. So when you don't look at that machine and then you look at it again 15 years later, you go, how does that progression happen? So in a 20-minute conversation, I can learn all about what happened from then till now. It puts everyone from the industry in one or two rooms or in a single location, and they can all get together and they can discuss where our industry is headed. Now, we may not all run the world, but someone does when it comes to our companies, and we can make those suggestions and come up with ideas and collaborate between the companies and different parts of the industry and really get somewhere.
Absolutely.
Pleasantly surprised. I think it's been very good. It's the opportunity to go ahead and talk to people both about what they see as the future and their challenges and what they're dealing with today on a day-to-day level. And it allows some freedom to get into discussions that you don't get to in a traditional trade show where you're either just trying to push your product or you're listening to some talking head that creates a futuristic version. This is a nice melding of direct feedback from people that are vested and with where the world's going. I like it. I think it's been great.
Amen. Well, that's it. All
Okay.
right. Thank you so much.
Oh, appreciate
That
it.
was great. Yeah. Hopefully I didn't get too out of control.
Yeah, so actually, I've had a very positive experience here. I mean, I've known Mike for 12 years. This is one of the first stops I ever made in my training to get into the underground business.
Great.
And I think it's great. I've listened to a number of the roundtables. It's great to hear all the different perspectives. I think the concept of bringing it all together in one place to be able to put it out there for other people is huge. Everybody's busy doing what they need to be doing, and to have an approach where you can bring a lot of information together is really good. I think the discussions are good. The people that are here are, they're interesting, they're knowledgeable. It's been a great networking opportunity, and I'd recommend it to anybody.
That's great.
Well, I mean, typically at a trade show, we're trying to sell equipment, there's not as nearly as much of a working together, partnership as I mentioned before. So, I'm finding, of course, there are people here that, and one of the things in the industry that that worries me is there are people who don't have the partnership in mind, but are interested in in making a buck off of what what they see as a potential gold mine. But it's a serious thing because you're talking at the very least disruption of services for people, and the very worst, somebody getting hurt and hurt badly. So any time we can get a group together and be partners in something that I think a lot of us are passionate about because we've been living it for forever, for many, many years, for decades, and personally I ran a backhoe, as a young guy, and I ran a backhoe and I pulled my share of pipes out of the ground.
Yeah.
So I know what it feels like to have a 4-inch gas main that's not marked right,
Sure.
but made of plastic come out of the ground. So.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
That's why we get involved with things like Planet Underground. We get involved with Planet Underground and stuff like that. So we consider this a best practice.
Yeah.
So if we can take a contractor and teach him best practices, if we can get him involved in understanding the best practices in potholing and air knives and all that kind of stuff, and locating properly, it makes him a better contractor, reduces his losses, and reduces ours.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Do you enjoy coming here and talking to people?
Absolutely.
People?
And I've been coming for a number of years. I think this might be my 4th event.
Yeah.
And so I've seen the growth of it from a small group where I was actually in the audience and just watching what was going on as Mike was preparing the initial interviews. And to the point last year where it's grown, where there's multiple roundtable sessions going on. And now this year, what I have found the greatest benefit is the collective knowledge base that you guys have in this building right now, and all the unique ways that we could be working together. And that's what's neat. We're not finding customers here. What we're finding is opportunities to collaborate with other companies and work together to make a better system for the others out in the work field. So that's what I find really neat about this. You can go to a trade show, a big conference, and you're going to have customers walking past your booth. You're going to be inviting people in to get demonstrations. But here, we're all on the same page. We're all trying to come up with a better solution, and that's what's neat. And we've had some opportunities, even last night over dinner, talking to some of the organizations.
Sure.
and brainstorming about
how we can
Yeah.
work together rather than apart.
Yeah.
And that's pretty neat.
You are not the first person I've heard say, like, but seeing you guys in the passion here this week has been great. It's
Yeah.
been really good. So
I'd encourage you guys too to continue inviting people from around the world. I mean, especially some of these guys from Australia and
Oh,
New Zealand.
yeah.
You know, hearing that they're able to operate in a similar environment without the regulations that we have here, you know, really gets you excited about, I want to go down there and work because they can employ and implement this technology so much faster.
absolutely. And actually,
And this is my first event, so
Sure.
but so far so good. I mean, the roundtable that we sat through was very informative. Looking forward to the other roundtables and the other topics that are going to be discussed here. So I think tomorrow is going to be a really telling day too. It's going to be a full day of roundtables and topics and discussions. So I think after that, I'll just have more of a broader view of the overall event. But I'm glad you're doing this, especially for somebody like me who's new to it,
Sure.
and be able to network and learn about the other aspects of just other than just selling tools.
Is there an area of the industry in particular that maybe you don't know a lot about, and that you're maybe more curious about learning more from, or maybe that just you've never just had the opportunity to kind of sit down with someone, and talk to them about that?
Yeah, as a like employee, we're surveyors, so we really know above ground technologies and above ground mapping. Below ground is a wholly different animal altogether. So I have a lot to learn in that regard, but coming to events like this is really going to round out my knowledge base.
Fantastic.
First of all, as I touched on before, I think the ability to talk to industry peers, and that spans the gamut of industry or organizations that serve our industry, it really allows you to get a good insight on how people perceive the same question that we're being asked. So that's why I love these types of atmospheres, because of the fact that everyone's got a different substantive opinion on a subject that you can take bits and pieces from to, again, further your own knowledge, at the same time have an appreciation where people are coming from on a certain topic. And really, the industry itself, as you know, is the focus of it and its mission being safety and prevention and things like that. People are passionate about it, and so I feel that it's always very nice when you have a group of folks that are all passionate about the same thing, to be able to kind of discuss best practices. And the atmosphere, as opposed to a trade show, and trade shows are great, but one of the things that I enjoyed about just driving down here was the fact that I don't think anyone here ever feels that they have to be on, so to speak. You're just having conversations with, a lot of us know each other, obviously. We've seen each other, have seen each other, and we've done business together in some cases, but we have that professional relationship. So this is another way of just kind of, again, furthering that as well. And, it is a great way just, again, to see how people are doing things in the industry, and what there may be trends that you just haven't heard of, but you can get through interaction in an event like this.
Well said. And you are the third person today that's used that word passion, and I love that. This isn't, we're not going through the motions. We're trying to solve these problems. I'm glad you guys are all here, and it's been a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, well, as we mentioned having lunch, a few of us, the beauty about this is people are not doing this to take a few days out of the office. They're doing this to say, hey, I think this is going to be really beneficial to me for whatever reasons. A lot of them, I probably just mentioned. So.
Yeah, and it's strange because we've done this now 3 years in a row. It's always at the end of the year.
I'll tell you. So this is my first time here, and I got more out of today than the 10 or 15 CGA conferences I've been to. And so I have a feeling you'll edit and do some of this stuff, but it's a trade show. It's people trying to sell their products when you go down there. You sit in some of these sessions, and at the end, you're finding out that it's someone trying, not all of it, but a chunk of it is. Here, I didn't see any of that. I saw people sitting down and talking, having conversations about real life things, and possibly walking out of here hearing something from somebody else that I might try. This was an absolute fantastic experience, and I'll tell you, it doesn't surprise me at all, because I've known Mike for a long time, and I know that this is how he operates, that there's not a more dedicated person to damage prevention than Mike is out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, I appreciate taking the time to do this.
Sure.
This has been fantastic. Yeah. And you got any, are you scheduled for any more roundtables?
I'm good.
Anything?
Nope, I'm
You're just
done.
gonna have fun the rest of the day.
Yeah,
All right, good
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, thanks.